A big misconception about DSCR loans is that they have a lot of hidden fees, but really the fees that come with a debt service coverage ratio loan are the result of the choices you're going to make as an investor when you structure your own deal. So really important to know going in how these fees work so you can make the best decisions when that time comes. And the first fee that typically comes up during the process is going to be the appraisal. So the appraisal is the one fee that's paid up early on in the beginning of the process, the one upfront fee. An appraisal usually runs about $600 because you do need the rent survey for a DSCR loan, either long-term or short-term rental, usually adds another $150 to that total. So on average, for a regular short-term rental or long-term rental DSCR loan, an appraisal usually runs between $700 to $800. A lower DSCR rate typically means you have a longer prepayment penalty. It's really a trade-off, not so much a trap, because as an investor, you're going in thinking about how long you're expecting to be in that loan for. So if you're confident with where the market is, if you're confident that you're going to probably be holding that property longer term, it might actually make more sense to do a 5-year prepayment penalty, which is the higher end of that range. It's typically between 0 to 5 years. Or if you're maybe expecting rates to drop over the next year or so, or maybe just want to keep your options open in case you want to sell that property, or just in case you're going to be in a pinch, you might default to a either 0 or 1 or 2 year prepayment penalty. Overall, I think the most common approach that I see with investors is that 2-year prepayment tends to typically be the sweet spot with pricing. Always run a cost analysis going in to see how long the recoup's going to be if you are going to do a prepayment penalty. There are actually a handful of states that do not allow you to have a prepayment penalty. If that's the case, it would just default to a 0, right? Which means you're never going to have to worry about the prepayment penalty. It sounds like a good thing, but oftentimes it's not, because your interest rate and closing costs can be a little bit higher because you're never going to have to worry about a prepayment penalty. And if you do end up enrolling in a loan that actually has a penalty, what you can do is you can always buy out of it. It's typically either 6 months worth of interest or up to 4 to 5% of the existing loan balance. So it can vary a little bit from lender to lender. If you do end up enrolling in a longer prepayment penalty, always ask your lender up front, what is the cost to buy out? And always ask them, is this going to be a declining prepayment penalty structure where it goes 3, 2, 1 and it dissipates over time, or is it going to be fixed and never change over the course of the loan? Lender fees is another important one to really grasp, because this can vary a lot from lender to lender. The one fee that pretty much every investor, every lender out there has is an underwriting fee. That could be anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500. Usually somewhere in the middle there is the most common approach. So that's going to be a fee that's applied for every single loan, in addition to a processing fee. So ask that lender, ask the broker, what is your processing fee? It's typically around $900 or so on average from what I see as a broker from other lenders. Occasionally, you might have a broker like myself that typically self-processes most of their loans, which completely avoids that fee altogether. So really, underwriting fee, processing fee. Other lenders have incidental fees like credit report, other MERS fees that can add up to maybe a couple $100. So make sure to ask the lender, what is your lender fee? What is your processing fee? What is the cost of all your other incidental lender fees that you typically charge? Discount points is a really important section to understand as an investor. You can either take the rate that's the par rate that doesn't have any cost associated with it. It might not mean you're going to have the best payment. So it's going to be a trade-off. And if you want to invest and pay points to buy down to get a lower interest rate, a lower payment, or maybe take a higher rate that comes with either a credit or no points at all. That way you're not going to have to worry about higher closing costs because you're not investing to buy down that interest rate. So when you're looking at points, always look at a recoup analysis. How long would it take to recoup the cost that has points versus the option that doesn't have points? Overall, DSCR loan fees are not a one-size-fits-all, and they're going to vary depending on your strategy. So super important, get a really good grasp on how these fees work so you can be prepared once you eventually go under contract. Again, I'm Austin Clarence, your DSCR loan expert. Any questions you have about recoup, closing costs, cash flow, shoot me a message, drop me a comment. Look forward to connecting.